Like, I don't think y'all understand. Like, there is so many fish back here. Good ones, little ones, all different kind of sizes. It's ridiculous. So, the little guy, he just laughed at it. But, like, golly, he's so tiny. Little mean spot. But, here's the thing. When you're using your top water baits, you don't have to set the hook. I see people all the time on walking baits and all kinds of stuff just he-man it. You don't have to do that. Just reel. That's all you gotta do. Just lean into it a little bit and reel, and you're gonna catch a lot more fish. All right, everybody. So welcome back to another episode of Colton Posey Fishing. So today I just want y'all to come fishing with me. So I've been getting a lot of messages. I've been getting a lot of comments from you guys saying one day I'm finding them, the next day I'm not. So here's the big thing I want you to understand before we jump into any of this. These fish are chasing bait fish. That's all they're doing. They're chasing bait fish. So with that being said, you need to move too, and you need to stay on the move. And I'm gonna show you a few baits and show you what I'm doing back here in this area and what I would do throughout the rest of the lake. So stay tuned, there's some you don't wanna miss. All right, guys, so real quick before we jump into everything, I do want to say I am working with Thunderhawk Lures. I'm working with Salty Captain. You know, if you would go check their stuff out, links are always in the description. Everything will always be in the description. I see when y'all click on that stuff, and it helps me out a whole lot, especially when you order using my code. It just helps me out a whole lot with gas, tackle, all that stuff. It allows me to do stuff like this, show y'all little tricks, tips, techniques, all that good stuff. But either way, you know, I've been back here in this pocket, and we're in full-blown fall. There's no doubt about it. The leaves are starting to change a little bit. You know, the willow grass is dying off. The water temperature's in the mid-70s. Where you're at, it could be in the low 70s. But, you know, there's fish kind of everywhere. And, you know, I started this, I didn't get to the lake till like 1 o'clock. So with that being said, you know, I started out on the main lake at 1 o'clock and got a few bites. But that was about it. You know, I was hitting the main lake area, bridges and stuff like that. And, you know, just not a whole lot of luck. Well, with that being said, I automatically went from one extreme to the other. So instead of fishing the main lake, pushed all the way back to the back of a creek. And sure enough, these fish were back here. And I've been back here maybe 3 hours just wearing fish out. There's a couple different ways that I like to target these fish. And I've talked about them 100 times. And y'all may be tired of hearing me talk about them. But, you know, a topwater is obviously one, especially when they're feeding up. But like right now, they're not really jumping. So I'm going to go a little bit below the surface and throw a little swim bait. So I'm going with my spinning setup, 8-pound test, all that stuff. So you could get away probably with 15-pound, maybe a little bit bigger than a 3-inch mare. But, you know, we've been catching smaller fish in the very, very back of this creek. And the bigger fish that we've caught has come from right here at the mouth of where this creek starts. And when I say these fish are piled back here, I mean, like, these jokers are just absolutely stacked. There's got to be 200 fish or more. And as far as shad, there's thousands, not 8,000, thousands of fish. But, you know, I'm reeling these baits quick. I'm trying not to give these fish a good look at it, just like that. It's a big one. He'll stay on. Spotlight. Oh, Lord. Yeah, he's a toad. Big old spot. Oh, man. Oh, man, he's a big old spot. No, that's a large. That's a large. Excuse me. Woo. So that's what I'm doing. I'm reeling this bait, you know, quickly. Golly. Pretty fish. So just where I'm at right now on this lake in particular, like, if you have 6-7 pounds this time of year, you're probably going to win a tournament up here. So this is like a really good fish up here. It's probably about a 2.25. Beautiful, beautiful largemouth. But you know, we're finding these fish very, very back. They're pushed up super shallow. We're finding them at the mouth of where the back of the creek is. This wind's pushing through here. It's cruising around. That's calm. This is not calm. These fish are just hanging everywhere in between. You got spots roaming everywhere because we're sitting only like 3 foot deep. You got spots roaming everywhere, chasing bait fish. You got largemouth setting out on the edge. See like how it's windy right here? Then, you know, it kind of gets slick where the boat's sitting. Right there is where I hung that fish up. He was sitting right on that little slack water area. So, you know, pay attention to little stuff like that. But, you know, here's another thing too, a little trick I can tell y'all. Make sure when you catch a fish, like where I just caught that largemouth, I'm making another cast in that area because typically there's going to be more fish with them. They're really, really grouped up this time of year. One thing I can definitely tell y'all without a shadow of a doubt, always make sure you start catching fish in one spot, keep making casts that same area, because a lot of times, what in the world? Because a lot of times these, like that one that I just caught, there's probably several more right here, you know, in that same area. So, you know, don't make one cast, catch one fish. I see so many people do that. Don't make one cast, catch one fish, and then move on, okay? Keep casting that same area several times, and then if you don't get bit after several casts, move. You know, move then. And I'm a big, you know, pirate fisherman. I mean, I'm constantly moving. That's what I'm known to do when I fish. I'm moving, moving, moving. A lot of people don't like to fish with me because I'm not going to drag a worm all day long on one spot. I can't do it. It just ain't the way that I enjoy fishing. I ain't got nothing against anybody that does it. It's just me personally. You know, I don't like to do that. But I guarantee that's why a lot of y'all miss a lot of fish, because oh wait, come on. You'll make a cast to one area. Oh, this thing's beat up. That's why. Probably got the back end of it. You know, you're probably making casts to one area and getting a fish, and then you're reeling in, and then you're moving, or you know, you was on your trolling motor, you're not spot locking, you don't have power poles, or whatever the case may be, you're still moving. You know, if you've got somebody with you, make sure to tell that guy where you just got bit, let him follow up on it, because as long as you can fire at those fish and get them to bite, you can keep catching them. If you quit firing at those fish and you can't get them to bite, it's time to move. So, you know, always move. Keep moving, 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 moving until you get bit. Then slow down, pick that area apart, and then move again. Don't get too caught up on that area. You know, another thing I can tell y'all too, big time. See, so many people worry about this, and I've never understood why. Don't get so caught up on the color of your bait unless you've got some sort of stain in the water or you're fishing clear water. Okay, and when I say stain, I don't mean like just a tad bit of coloration to the water. I mean pretty much muddy water. Okay, if you got stain, you can kind of get away with whatever you want to fish with. It's kind of like back here in this pocket. You know, it's not muddy, but it's not clear. I'm throwing a black and blue mayor. Okay, these fish are eating shad that look nothing like a black and blue mayor. I've been throwing the shad color. They tore the whole pack of them up. I'm down to one of these. But you know, don't get so caught up on colors. If you're catching fish, keep that confidence. Keep that confidence. Confidence is going to be 99% of it, including presentation. But you know, you may be saying, well, you know, you're telling us to move, and you've been back here in this pocket for 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, I've been back here in this pocket 2 to 3 hours, but I'm making about every 10 casts or less. You know, I'm getting bit. I'm getting a fish. So that tells me I'm in the right area, and I'll stay here as long as I can until these fish, you know, quit biting the baits that I'm throwing. And that's the thing. Sometimes it can be a simple bait change up. You know, they may quit biting this mayor. They may quit biting the head and spook junior. So then I have to make some type of adjustments, right? And sometimes you can, you know, just swap I don't know, to a dart head. I'm just throwing a bait out there and start catching them again. But you know, I kind of want to bring this up. I'm not out here fishing tournaments. You know, I can care less about a tournament. I'm strictly fun fishing. Every time I go, I'm out here to show you guys, oh, how to catch a lot of fish. Because you know, most of the people that I've spoke to that's part of the channel, a lot of them tournament fish, or a lot of you guys tournament fish, but a lot of you guys also do not have that much time to fish. When you go, you want to catch a lot of fish, and I don't blame you at all. So that's one of the things that I strive to do. So, you know, if you're on this channel as a tournament angler, just trying to figure out how to catch more fish or bigger fish, you know, you're in the right area. So, like I explained earlier, in the backs of these creeks here for right now, this could change tomorrow. These fish can migrate super quick, but that comes with experience and reading the conditions. Okay, ooh, a little bitty squirt. But that comes with, you know, reading the conditions and experience, you know, just being on the water so much. A lot of the smaller fish, if you go back into an area like the back of this creek, right, and you start catching fish, but they are smaller fish, move further out. Move further out. So right here where I'm sitting, this is kind of where the drop-off mark is. When I say drop-off mark, we're probably in like 67 foot maybe of water, but like right where my motor is on my boat, it's like 3 foot. So, you know, there's a drastic change in depth. That bigger fish come off the deeper side. A lot of these smaller fish are coming off of the shallower side. And if you cruise up super shallow like I did earlier, I cruised all the way to the very, very back until my trolling motor hit the ground. And, you know, most of those fish back there are tiny, tiny bass. And you can wear those fish out, you know, live worms, crickets, whatever you want to use, darthead minnows. If you're just targeting fish in general, always kind of just move around and fish everywhere. Look at all of them go. It's crazy. But, you know, kind of move around everywhere. If you start catching, you know, those smaller fish in the back and you want to move to bigger fish, try working your way out. You know, I don't necessarily suggest, this is one thing I see a lot of people do also. Don't always just do that. Throw at the bank. Don't always throw at the bank. There's nothing wrong with throwing at the bank. But as y'all saw just a second ago, right behind me, those fish that were feeding on top of the water, they're in the middle of the channel where you would typically have your boat. Make sure if you cast to the bank, cast further out towards the center. These shad are sitting so close to the top of the water, it doesn't really matter. If you're keeping your bait an inch below the water, whether it's close to the bank or further out, it doesn't matter because those fish are still going to be, you know, targeting those shad in that same area. So don't get caught up at just throwing at the bank all the time. Try to always make long casts. You know, if you're fishing like the open part of the channel like I am right now, like we're, you know, there's really nothing out here. I'm bumping into shad right now. I can feel the shad bumping into my swim bait as I reel it. Focus on making longer casts. Use your eyes more than your sonar. Okay, that's one thing I see a lot of people do, not just the newer generation. Y'all old dogs are guilty about it too. Oh, had one. You old dogs are guilty about it too. You know, don't be hitting up on the young kids saying, quit looking at your screen. Y'all boys do it too. I see y'all out here. Y'all just be staring straight down at your sonar, not looking up, not listening, nothing. So don't be hating on them young kids too much. I done got all kind of messed up here. Look at this. Lord have mercy. But either way, like on my boat right now, I'm so shallow. I don't need any kind of sonar. Like these fish that just come up right here, I don't need that. I can see them. So, you know, the less noise that you have, besides me sitting here yelling at y'all, the less noise that you have, the chances of you catching fish is going to drastically go up. One thing I don't see a whole lot of people do, there's, you know, to me personally, I've got nothing against forward facing sonar. I've got nothing against 2D, side imaging, down imaging, none of that stuff. But your biggest friend out on the water, 99% of the time, is going to be Mother Nature. Paying attention to where the birds are sitting. Okay, you know, how I found this place back here, several weeks ago. I cruised back here. There's a white crane or whatever they're called sitting at the very, very back, feeding on shad. With that white crane being back there, that tells me he's not going to be back there just to hang out. Okay, he's not sitting back there waiting to watch me catch fish right in front of him. Right? See the bigger fish further out, deeper in. But you know they're not going to be sitting there for no reason. They're not just there to hang out. So you know, paying attention to where those birds are. I've stopped on places that look like it shouldn't hold a single fish. Got right in an area where that bird was, and found a whole big school. You know, sometimes it just happens like that. So pay attention to Mother Nature. You know, that's like, you know, if you're looking down at your screen, there's nothing wrong with looking down at your screen. But if you're looking down at your screen consistently without looking up, sometimes you're not going to see those fish close to the top of the water. Like there's fish busting everywhere in this area. So if I'm just staring straight down, maybe I ain't got good hearing. I'm not going to hear or see those fish. Okay, I may be looking for them on my sonar and never find them. So if I'm looking around, looking down, you know, you got to find that perfect balance, what works for you. And it all depends on what kind of fish you're fishing on. You know, if I'm fishing Smith Lake, I'm paying, you know, 55%, 60% rough estimate of my attention to the screen, okay? Because I'm trying to find herring. It makes it so much more efficient doing like that. But at the same time, that other percentage, I'm using my eyes, I'm using my ears, I'm using my instincts. That's one thing you got to develop in fishing. And no amount of watching YouTube or cable television or whatever is going to teach you about instinct. You got to get on the water as much as you can, especially if you want to become a better angler. It's hard to teach somebody like, hey, you ain't got to look at the pressure meters. You wake up in the morning, you walk outside on the porch, you're like, man, the humidity's just right for a topwater bait. You can't really teach folks that. You kind of have to just, you'll kind of start to feel it. That's like me and back of the boat Brad the other day. We're up here and you know, we move into these creeks and we're not really getting bit. You know, we catch a couple fish, but not consistently. We're not consistently catching fish. How many of y'all, let me know down in the comments, how many of y'all, if you're not consistently catching a fish in an area that you've been, there's nothing wrong with yes or no, okay? There's nothing wrong with that. You're not wrong either way you answer it, okay? But how many of y'all go to an area, you caught fish, you wore them out, you smoked them, and then all of a sudden, they're not really biting. They're there, you can see them, they're busting, but you can't really get them to bite anything. How many of y'all would make an adjustment like that to move? So me and Brad get in this area, and we was catching fish, or we caught a couple fish, but we had wore fish out in that area before. Nothing's really happening. Within 15 minutes of being in that area, we're up and we're gone, and we completely change everything we're doing. All of a sudden, we're throwing, we're on the main lake, and we're throwing different baits and catching fish. Oh, that was a good bite. That felt like a good bite. Ooh. But, you know, sometimes you gotta growl at them, give them a, but, you know, how many of y'all would have adjusted like that? We move out to the main, we're throwing different baits, we start catching fish. You know, sometimes you just got to do that, make that small adjustment. But simply just the wind direction could have been completely different. And with that being said, you know, you got to make those adjustments. You know, you can't just sit in one spot this time of year, guys. It's really hard to. The longer you sit in an area that's not active, you know, you're not going to have any more of a chance to catch fish. Yeah, they can migrate in there at any time, but what if instead of waiting on those fish to migrate in, what if you start fishing out to where they're going to migrate from? You're going to bump into them. That's always been my theory. You're going to bump into them. And every time of year, you're going to have what you call residential fish. Those residential fish typically live on the main lake. They live in the creeks. Okay, they never move from those areas. Lewis Smith Lake, you'll find spotted bass spawning on the main lake. With that being said, you also have what we call nomadic fish. Those are the jokers you see just cruising everywhere, right? Sometimes they're hard to catch, sometimes they're hard to stay on. That's kind of what happens this time of year. those bigger fish, those smaller fish, they all kind of become nomadic. They do it during the spring too. That's why, you know, I tell people, if you're gonna carry somebody fishing, fall is the best time to do it, especially if you're a power fisherman, because you're really gonna put those people, those new people, on fish, right? And you know, not a whole lot of people remember days where they didn't catch nothing. Most people remember the days where they just wore them out, right? So that's kind of what you got to look for. And this time of year, you can really find that. I want to see if we can get another one on the top water. Let's grab this top water. So I picked up the Head and Spook Junior in the nude version, or clear, whatever Head and color's called. But you know, I've used the Strike King for years. You can't find that joker anywhere hardly. I mean, every tackle store that I've been to, and then, you know, Tackle Warehouse quit selling the clear one for whatever reason. The Head and Spook Junior, it works very well. I got an Azuma too. I don't like it as much. It's got a lot of weight to it, and it tries to sit nose down a lot. You know, this is what I'm consistently doing, guys. Find an area that's like this. And that's the thing I want y'all to understand. When you see an area like I'm fishing today, where there's just tons of fish, finding areas like this is not going to happen every time you go to the lake. It's one of those things where if I wouldn't have kept covering water like I was and got to this area, I never would have found these fish. I'd have been stuck doing the same stuff over and over again. And don't get in that habit, guys. It's easy to get in that trap, whether, you know, you're just simply brain fogged that day or something. These jokers are jumping clear up out of the water. You know, just don't get too caught up on it. Keep moving. Try to make smart decisions. All that good stuff. But, you know, guys, I really appreciate you stopping by. If the video helps you at all, like I always say, like the video. It helps me out tons. Oh, he smoked it. And don't forget, subscribe. I'm always putting out, like, pretty good. I don't know if I may have hooked him all kind of weird. No, he's pretty good. Yeah. But you know, don't forget to subscribe. I'm always putting out new content on bass fishing. So you can pretty much say I got you covered when it comes to bass fishing. Whether you want to catch big ones, little ones, doesn't matter. I got you covered. If you have any questions, like why is a leaf on your Head and Spook Junior, drop a comment. I love talking fishing with you guys. I appreciate all the messages and comments that I get from you guys. It really encourages me to keep doing what I'm doing. Also, if you want to get you some cool merch, check out the store. $25 ship to your door. We got all kinds of cool logos, straight logo shirts, whatever you want. And check out my sponsors in the description. Salty Captain, I use them to keep all my stuff clean. Super easy, super efficient, super affordable. That's the main thing, super affordable. But they'll give you 15% off. And then also Thunderhawk Lures. Been working for them for a while. Great people, great products to catch fish, not fishermen. You can use CPOSY20, get 20% off. And I see when you guys do that. Oh, and it helps me out a whole lot. Allows me to keep doing what I'm doing. And either way, guys, I appreciate it. I'll see you next time.